Hello, Highways and Hedges Monday School community. Thank you so much for tuning in. First off, I want to apologize for the delay of getting out this last section of the book of Acts. We have had a lot going on here at the house and just been really busy. So first off, I want to thank you so much for staying faithful. I pray you've been reading your Bible, you've been praying, and obviously going through the book of Acts with me. I just wanted to address, first off, obviously our last segment in this lesson went from Acts 19 to 20, and now this video here is going to be covering Acts 21 through Acts 28. So literally the rest of the book of Acts. And there's a reason I'm doing 8 chapters at once. There's multiple reasons, actually. Number one, God said, we're going to change the direction of the Wednesday series, and it's going to start next week, next Wednesday, and it's going to be called Thou Shalt Nots. So I would encourage you to really tune in. Obviously, after this video, tune in next week for the Thou Shalt Not series. And I think it tunes in very well with the character series that we're starting in Sunday school in the classroom. So those two really paired up well. And God said, all right, let's wrap up the book of Acts with this very, very high level overview and I want you to run the character series on Sundays along with the Thou Shalt Not series on Wednesdays, mostly because this country needs Christian folks that have Christian character, that understand what what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. And so I really pray that really this series here will help you better address the areas in your individual life where you need some help and allow God to really get in there and change you. And so that is really the main reason for that's the main reason for the switching of the series. Secondly, there's just a lot of this would have taken a lot of maybe another month or so to go through the book of Acts. And like I said, God said, we got to move on. So I got his okay to wrap up this series right now. So Acts 21 through 28. Of course, when we last saw Paul, he was in Ephesus and he was saying goodbye to the Ephesian elders. And for now, from Acts 21 through Acts 28, it's really Paul's journeys. It is that's a high level overview. There's much to draw from all of these chapters, but here we see Paul going from Miletus or Ephesus down into Jerusalem, which of course is where he is imprisoned, and then we see his journey as God takes him to Rome in Acts 28, which is exactly where God told him he would go. If there was one verse to encapsulate all 8 of these chapters, it's Acts 23:11, which says, "And the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome." God had a plan for Paul. Paul knew what God's plan was, and Paul was obedient to follow Christ, and he knew God was with him through all of it. You know what we're going to see in these chapters? Paul is beaten. Paul is in shipwreck. Paul is bitten by a serpent. Paul has so many trials going through these chapters. But this verse here reminds us, and it reminded Paul, that when God is with you, he will get you to the destination he has set for you. And so, between Acts 21 and Acts 28, it takes about 3 to 4 years. So this is over 8 chapters, about 3 to 4 years are happening. And then once he got to Rome, it's another 2 years while he's in Rome before we get to Acts 28:30. which says, oh, and Paul dwelt 2 whole years in his own hired house and received all that came into him. But Paul always did what he always did. And you might say, Mark, that doesn't make any sense. From the day Paul got saved, he learned of the doctrine and he taught of Christ. That was what he did. He wrote letters to the churches at Philippi, to the church at Ephesus, to the church at Rome, to the church in Corinth. He wrote letters. He had started churches. He had elders. He was really following up and pushing the gospel out. And I think that is really, as you read through the chapters of Acts 21 through Acts 28, Paul did what he was supposed to do. And that's why he could say, I fought a good fight. And I believe it's 2 Timothy. I fought a good fight. I have finished my course. Meaning, God carried me from salvation all the way through to Rome. And here we get a first-hand account of all of his trials. He never doubted God was with him, and he never doubted what God told him to do. And that's kind of where I want to end this series. We all know we are supposed to, once saved, read your Bible. That's where you get your teaching. Pray. That's where we get our power and our encouragement and our comfort. And go soul winning. Witness to those around you. Because that's what God has for you. It took 3 years from Acts 21 through Acts 28, and Paul had another 2 years in Rome. So we're looking at a total of 6 years. Throughout all of these chapters, Paul stood firm on his beliefs despite all of the circumstances that were around him. I encourage you this week, read through Acts 21 through 28. Write down all of the obstacles that were placed into Paul's path. And write down how God carried him through all of them. Because we are going to have maybe not the same obstacles. Maybe we're not going to get in a shipwreck. But Satan's trying to make our lives a shipwreck. He's trying to make our testimonies a shipwreck. And God will carry you through. Good days, bad days, hard days, great days. God is there. I encourage you, read through Acts 21 through 28. I hope you enjoyed this series. Take a lot of notes going through those chapters and reflect back on them. You will learn so much about how God will take care of his people just in these 8 chapters. Thank you so much for watching the series. If you like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me a comment. I would love some comments. And of course, share the channel out to God's glory. Next week, we have on Sunday, we start our character series. On Monday, school in the classroom. And on Wednesday, thou shalt not. Let's see how we do. Till we talk again.